Buckle up. We are back with episode 16 of Travel Disasters. My podcast is 16 years old. It can drive. She's growing up so fast. I'm having a good week. I went on a run this morning. I found $5 in my jeans. I remembered to take my multivitamin. My skin is literally glowing. It's amazing what 8 hours of sleep can do. You know what else is amazing? You are. That's why I want to hear what you have to think about this podcast. Throw me 5 stars, leave a written review on Apple Podcasts to help other amazing people like yourself find this podcast. And I want to read them on the air. I haven't gotten a written review in a couple of weeks, and it's really affecting my self-esteem. So do a good deed today. Tell me how much you love this podcast, and I promise I will read it next week. And while you're scrolling on your commute to work, make sure to follow us on social media. We are Travel Disasters on every platform. It's a great way to put a face to my name, to the guests' names. I'll post pictures of everyone that we have on the show, videos of us recording in the booth. You can hear clips from previous episodes and just learn more about upcoming live shows. Seriously, follow us right now. And tell everyone about this podcast. Tell your mom, tell your siblings, tell everybody about this podcast. Everybody's looking for cool new things, so we want them to hear about it. Now, let's get down to business. This week's episode features my friend, fellow comedian. She's also a member of the jazzfuzz network. That's right, the host of That Time I Got Arrested, the notorious Casper is in the house, and I'm thrilled to have her. She is the OG of traveling. She's been traveling her entire life, and this time she takes us to her travels to Europe as a teenager and probably had more fun than any of us did when we were in Europe as adults. There's drugs, there's sex, there's turmoils, and you're not going to want to miss it. So let's take off. Baby, we're going on the trip from hell, where every flight is missed, they lose your luggage, and you're in the middle seat between a sumo wrestler and a screaming baby. Don't worry, I'm coming along for the ride. I'm Mary Kate Beck, and this is Travel Disasters.
I remember the first time that we met. It was at Tapster.
What?
Like almost 2 years ago.
Is that when Molly and Aaron were running it?
I have no idea, just because I didn't know anything. I would come there after work. It's still in my business uniform. Mm-hmm. And I remember you asked me if my name was Beatrice, short for B.
Yeah.
That was our first conversation. I remember being like, you are the nicest person that I've met. I was a month into comedy. Nobody fucking spoke to me at all, you know? And you were like, hi, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to have a drink? We should hang out. What's your name? And I was like, who the fuck are you?
I know. I think I'm very overwhelming to people sometimes.
I loved it.
Okay.
In my heart, forever, I was just like, that's a good egg right there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so
I try. It's a lonely, lonely world in the open mic scene.
Yeah, I mean, a comedy is hard in general, but it's so much harder when you add that extra pressure of having to socialize with an entirely new group of people that's comprised of psychopaths. You know?
Yes, everyone is so different in the comedy scene, which is... It's crazy. You'll run into someone who's super outgoing, and then you'll run into someone who's completely introverted, but then super brilliant on stage.
Yes.
And it's such a mixed bag of it's a motley crew for sure.
A lot of savants, some people that you'd be like, you can't have a conversation, but man, do you understand a premise?
Yes. Oh my God. I'm trying to think of the first time I met you. I feel like I've just seen you around at open mics, and I've always loved your sense of humor because it's...
What?
Yes. Because I am really into dark humor, and I haven't been able to master it. You can talk about drugs and what's happened to you in your life and make it funny and twisted and cool. And but I've always wanted that because I'm a bubbly blonde girl, so I try to do dark shit on stage. I don't think I've ever talked about this publicly, but my brother committed suicide, and I've tried to do jokes about that and just have not been able to master that. So when I see people who have dark senses of humor, I'm like, I'm in. I want to I gravitate towards them because I'm I want to have what you have. It's
That's so funny because I all of my jokes that I do on stage currently are lies. And
that's awesome though. That's even crazier because it's very believable.
Well, and then it's weird because it was through doing comedy. It was actually, do you remember the open heckle mic at Mutiny, RIP?
I've never gone because I'm so sensitive. I would take it to heart so much.
Yeah, so I did it twice, took it to heart.
Yeah.
Had a really hard time and then went there and I was I'm going to do this differently. And that's literally how my podcast was born.
Yes. Tell us about your podcast.
Well, I went up there and I was how do you I thought about it for 2 weeks because I really did get my feelings hurt a couple of times.
Dude, I would think about it every single day.
Yeah,
if someone was you have fat calves, I'd be oh my God, I'm never wearing shorts again.
No, they make definitely more
crazy
cutting remarks that get inside your soul and then you never let them go.
May I ask? Can you talk about it? What was triggering? What did they say that just fucking cut you to the core? I need to know.
It wasn't even that mean, but and the person who said this had no idea how much this would hurt me.
Yeah.
And they didn't even say it to me while I was on stage. They said it to me while they were on stage. And I hadn't even said anything to them, but someone was you've got mad Lena Dunham vibes. And I hadn't said a word. So I was that sounds insulting in a way that I don't even really want to think about.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
First of all, my hair does not look that crazy, but also you don't even know me. That is a little too personal.
Oh
and he hadn't heard my
God.
comedy, so I'm you don't know that all I talk about is sex and drugs.
Right. That's hilarious.
Thought about it for weeks.
Right. Never slept again. And
well, so then I went back to the mic and I was how do I win this mic? And I'm I have to get everyone to shut up and not be able to say anything to me. I'm so what do I do? I'm I guess I could probably just tell them the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Hell
and
yes.
If everyone was completely silent, then I win because it's the heckle mic.
Yes.
And I even went on stage and I was I'm going to tell you guys a really uncomfortable story and you can try and heckle me all you want, but if you're just uncomfortable and want me to stop, shut up and raise your hand.
Yeah.
And by the time I was done, that everyone had wished.
Hell yeah, you won, bitch. You won.
And then I went outside
awesome.
and I threw up and I started crying. And then after that, I made the podcast.
That's amazing. Oh my God. Yes. Wait, tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, so it kind of ties into the story I'm going to tell you today a little bit, but my podcast is all about getting arrested and I'm sort of in a costume all the time where I'm just this sort of unassuming white female person where you're just she seems nice and normal.
Yeah.
But I think the most diplomatic way to put it is that I've had a rough childhood and I've been arrested over 100 times. So I ended up going to prison for 11 months and my podcast is all about getting arrested and going to prison.
Yes. And I've listened to a couple episodes. It's actually, it's awesome.
I'm sorry.
It's awesome. And I'm sorry, you have the best podcast voice in the podcast game.
Thanks.
And you're a member of the Jazz Fuzz podcast network. So we're just family now. It's amazing.
No, literally and figuratively.
We are related. Amazing. Well, I'm so excited to kind of get into your travel disaster.
Right. I love your podcast too. I've listened to it.
Much.
John is my favorite episode thus far, but hopefully someone else will come and top his.
It's going to be you right now, right here, right now. So before we dive in, I'm always curious, what your travel experience is like. So kind of on that scale of 0 being a fetus in the womb, never seen the world, very sheltered, to, a citizen of the earth who lives out of a knapsack tied to a stick over their shoulder. Who, where does B. Casper fall?
I'm just 1 degree under the knapsack under a stick.
Oh, yes. I love it. She's coming. It's done for you, hoes. She's going to school all of you.
I have a really nice backpack and a bunch of gear that
Oh, hell yeah.
a little bit of a gearhead, but have been hiking and traveling since I was very young, and like every summer in college, I would wolf somewhere. So I took every opportunity.
For people that don't know what wolfing is, will you please? Sure, I know what it is, but I know it's not a common term for a lot of people.
Sure, it means world of organic farming, and basically it's like a work trade where you go and live somewhere and get like room and board for free for doing a couple of hours of work on a farm.
Awesome.
And you learn how to farm organically, which is really cool. So you're like gaining and giving, and then you get to go somewhere exotic and like not have to, pay for like every meal and every sleep. So.
And you get to like live there and really experience what it's like to live in such a paradise most often, or like parts of the mountains or places that you would never really live. So where's home for you? Did you grow up around mountains?
So I kind of had like a scattered upbringing. I was homeschooled for about 3.5 years, and I lived on a boat. And so we sailed literally around the world, and I was between ages 6 and 9. And then when I came back to the States and started going to regular schools, I just had like a really erratic home life. So I split my time between Southern California, Chicago, and Miami. And like every school year, I would be somewhere different. So I went to like 13 different schools in 12 years.
God, that's crazy.
So I was always the new kid. I was always like getting in trouble and sort of like acting out. And I just had a hard time adjusting to going back to like a normal type of like school and curriculum.
Yeah.
So I sort of went to like a bunch of different kinds of schools. And then in high school, I went to a year-round boarding school, which,
What? B, this is like mind-blowing.
Well, it's like... The school I went to is in Southern California, and it was for kids who had parents that were sort of like wealthy and like really needed to get rid of them like the whole year.
That's so awful.
Or it was, 40% of my class was Asian, because a lot of like rich Chinese parents will send their kids to the States to go to school here, to go to like fancy, boarding schools, but they stay there all year round, and it's like prepping them to get into Ivy Leagues.
Wow.
So it was like
crazy.
70% of my graduating class was 72 kids, and 70% of them went to an Ivy League.
Holy shit.
Not me, though.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I got rejected from Yale.
So you're just kind of like a natural nomad. You've kind of just like always been bopping around. Yeah. That's amazing.
I grew up like that.
That's crazy.
So that's why I was like 1 degree under.
Right. Yeah. You're like, I kind of know a lot. I'm an expert. So take me to like your travel disaster. Like paint me a picture. Where are we? What year is it? Who is Baby B?
So in boarding school, my sophomore year, I took a French class, and my French teacher was like, we organize this trip for seniors every year. If you want to go, you have to like sign up now and take, French for the next like 3 years to be able to qualify to go.
You just sell your soul to Perry.
Yeah. Well, so our school did like quarters instead of semesters. And so instead of having like a summer break, we would just get like 2 weeks off like every quarter. Yeah. So you had to like take a certain amount of French classes to be able to go at the end of these like quarters. So I think like 30 kids signed up initially like sophomore year. And then by the time we were all seniors, like so many things changed. Like they started offering Mandarin at my school. And so like a bunch of like white kids took Mandarin and dropped out of French. And so by the end of it, there was only like 7 of us total that ended up going on this like pretty epic like French-based trip.
Yeah, that sounds pretty clutch to me. I took French in high school and don't know a lick of it now. So
I know I've been like trying to review it because I'm getting ready to go to Paris on Sunday. Yeah. So I'm like realizing, I'm like listening and watching things in French, and I'm like, I only know the verbs. This is not good.
Voulez, parlez.
Yeah, I know. Like hopefully that'll get me like far enough.
Yeah. That's a good one. You need to know that one.
Yeah,
you need to know how to eat. Yeah,
that's like I need this.
Yes. Amazing.
So we're all ready to go on this trip, and because of the way like our schooling is set up, we end up like these 6 kids and we end up graduating in December instead of like your typical like June graduation. So our plan is to go to Europe from January until August.
Oh, wow.
This is like
my God.
Yeah. It's not just like, oh, you're going to like France for a little while. It's like you're going on like an 8-month European backpacking like adventure.
And was it different parts of France, I'm assuming? Like
So we spent the most amount of time in France, but we also went to London, Italy, Germany,
it's all so
Spain.
close, where it's
Amsterdam.
super easy. Oh, hell yeah. It's the best.
And we had been planning this trip, and we had all known each other for a really long time because we had been in school. And like when you live with the people you go to school with, you're sort of like family at the same time, you know?
You build such a bond because it's like you're kind of alone in this crazy situation. And
no parents, no real like structure. I mean, like not no structure, but like not your typical like.
For sure.
You go to school, you come home, you have a life, and that
but
life
it's like,
is separate.
no, these people are like your roommates, and you tell them everything. They know the best and worst parts about you. That's kind of nice. Like, true, but it's like you already know these people going into traveling, which is nice. Like, it's not like you're just like, hey, here's 8 months with a bunch of strangers.
Yeah,
have
which
fun.
I think would have been maybe better in some ways, but also would have been a lot different because we wouldn't have been able to rely on each other. And we got into such a crazy situation that it was like, it was best that we had known each other so well.
Yeah, tell me more. What crazy situation?
So from January to April, everything was pretty chill. You know, we sort of started to get tired of like the monotony of like bus stations and train stations. I would just say like 4 months in, we started to get tired.
Yeah.
But we had planned our whole like excursion around going to Amsterdam because we were all young and like really what our main concern was like how drunk can we get every day?
Hell yes.
And like how fucked up can we get? You know,
are you guys like 18? How old are you guys?
So I was 17 because my birthday's in August and I was like a little bit younger than everyone else. So most of the kids I was with were 18. But I mean, at 17, I did not get carded for a thing anywhere. Yeah. Like went to a, casino in Monte Carlo and like
that's awesome.
Gambled and was completely fine. But yeah, so we had planned our whole trip around going to Amsterdam and we were going to spend, 2 weeks there and we were really going to do it all. Like all the pot. We're going to do all the pot.
All the pot. I love that. You sound like my dad.
We were, knew that we could like buy ecstasy and mushrooms there and that would be a little bit safer. And so like these are like a bunch of, 3 of the kids out of the, 7 of us were Asian. And so it's like we had done our research. We
had spreadsheets, God damn it.
Yeah. We were like very clear about like the drugs we were going to get, the parties we were going to go to. And it was just like all planned and we had almost like an itinerary for our debauchery.
Oh, I want to travel with your Asian high school friends.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, hang on. So we get to Amsterdam and then like all of our plans pretty much go to shit. Almost as soon as we get there, just because we had never done those kinds of drugs. We had never, been allowed to like get that high unsupervised.
And your perfect little untouched bodies are probably like, ecstasy, what? And then you're on a different planet for like 3 days.
I did a lot of cocaine in high school, so I wasn't like this, like this pure young thing, but I definitely like didn't do pot on that level.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to like gauge my like edible tolerance.
That's so important. Yes.
Did
less is more.
Yeah. Right. As you find out after making several mistakes.
Yeah.
Did mushrooms and got lost in the tube for an entire day.
Oh my God.
Just like really like met a boy that I ended up dating for like 5 years while I was like on ecstasy in a nightclub. So I like
you're the best thing ever.
Yeah. Like peeled off and like disappeared for 4 days.
Oh my God.
So like all of the tulips in Holland.
Yeah, that's like your eat, pray, love.
Yeah.
It's like ecstasy, bang, stay together for 5 years. Got it. That's the standard trajectory.
Well, so we all had this like plan and, everything got kind of crazy. We went to the red light district and like lost the boys for a whole day.
Oh God, yeah. See you later. They're like, tits? What?
Right. And so when we all reconvened to like catch our flight, we were sort of, strung out and pretty like worse for the wear. It was amazing that we had all made it to the airport together in one piece, you know. But we did, gratefully, thankfully, like scarily enough.
Yeah, did you guys just all like show up at the gate like, you're here? You're here? Jessica? Like,
it was more like the night before, like at 4 a.m., just sort of like all at the hotel, just like in the lobby being like, so we're either going to like leave without this kid or not. And it's like, how much longer are we going to wait?
That's crazy.
And finally, can I say his name or should I not say his name? Okay, so Jason.
Fuck you.
Jason was the last one to arrive, and he was the really like the troublemaker out of the group. And
he sounds like a troublemaker. Like, come on.
His dad was like a pretty famous lawyer in LA.
I already hate him.
Yeah.
I hate him so much.
And he was like the party director of our little crew.
Of course he was.
And he definitely was like an instigator and had all of his like little like fingers in every aspect of like the debaucherous time that we were doing.
Every ass. I was like, oh, Jason, you dirty dog.
This is like 2008. So
yeah,
like not
boys
there
didn't
yet.
do that.
No, I mean maybe they did, but it wasn't part of the zeitgeist, you know?
For sure. They weren't open, but they weren't bragging about it on stage like comedians do.
Right. And so this was also a time where like, you know, smartphones had really just become a thing, and like none of us were old enough to really have like that. You know, it's not like we didn't have iPhones, but we definitely didn't have like the level of like technology that you have today, where it's like if something goes wrong, it's like you can just like fix everything on your phone.
Right.
So we get to the airport, we're all together, we're just like, we're like trying to like make it through security. This is post 9/11, so things are still a little bit tight, and we like know the rules for custom. Like you know the rules for customs to get in and out of the Netherlands, especially. Like you can't even bring food.
Yeah, it's like just your clothes and like tiny shampoos. It's fine.
Yeah, right. And we knew that, but so Jason decided to smuggle an ounce of hash.
Oh my God!
In his carry-on.
And
he wrapped it in tinfoil because he thought that would like
a metal like shield.
Right, yeah.
They're like, the dogs won't smell this.
He had like read something or heard something that if you did that like they wouldn't be able to detect it. Like it just through the little X-ray scanners, but it actually stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, it's metal.
Right. And so because we were, you know, international like students, people, we essentially all get detained. At the airport.
All of you do?
Yeah, so all 7 of us.
Oh my God.
Get detained at the airport, and we have no idea what's going on. So for 72 hours.
What?
We're stuck at the airport. We're children. We are hungover.
And there's no chaperones with you to like save the day.
No,
oh my God.
Well, so like we had chaperones in France, and like our French teacher like met up with us in France, and like we did a bunch of like French stuff, but we planned this whole trip so that we could all like use this as an excuse to get our parents to pay for this like European vacation, where really our main objective was to do drugs. You know? So we all get detained. We all get put in separate rooms. We all get questioned by the police. So I've already been arrested once at this point. My first time was when I was 13, and I was probably a little bit like tougher than like the rest of the kids, but fuck if that didn't.
Oh no, like, they were just so mean to you guys.
Yeah, break some of us. Like good thing we weren't in some sort of like Asian airport, you know, where it would have been like the language barrier would have been a lot more difficult to navigate. And like they immediately would have been like, oh, you're going to jail for 30 years.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because Jason's dad was a lawyer, he was able to, you know, call transatlantically and like negotiate the terms for all of us to get released without any charges being filed against us. Because
that's incredible.
Trying to bring drugs
I take it
to
back.
an airport.
I like you, Jason. I'm so sorry.
Well, you like Jason's dad because
you're right. Good point.
He was like the one that really like saved all of us, because we were just stuck in a room, basically being told that like, you know, we didn't know how long we were going to be there,
after like day 1, I'd be like, we're dying here. Like we're going to die in this airport. 3 fucking days. That's a long time.
In like a metal box, you know, one of those rooms with like the 2-way mirrors and a table.
Dude.
We had to sleep in there. Like we didn't take showers.
Oh my God.
We didn't have bathrooms. We had to like.
Did they feed you? Like what?
Yeah, they fed us like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh my God. And they were like Americans like this.
Yeah, and like a bag of chips and like a little thing of milk and like a Pop-Tart in the morning. Yeah.
For an ounce of fucking weed.
Well, hash, but
what's the difference?
Okay, so hash is like when you grind up weed, all the little crystally. It's called keef. When you press that keef into something, and like
it's like more concentrated.
Yeah. Hash is what like dabs and oils sort of evolved to, but before people used to just like smoke it differently. They'd put it on top of weed, or they'd do something called knife hits, where they'd like heat up 2 knives.
Yeah. Very safe stuff. If someone heated shit up on a knife, it'd be like, get that away from me.
On a stove, and you're like freebasing it. You're like, is this heroin? Like, maybe. I don't know.
Like, I just want to fit in. I'll do it.
It's like, so it feels good. You're like, you look like a drug addict. But it's like, now I like bust out a blowtorch, and some people are like, what the fuck?
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. Dabs. I'm like, Jesus.
It's evolved.
Did you get a license for that? That's so funny. So you guys like escaped or not escaped because you were released.
We benefit. So I don't know if it counts as white privilege because Jason was not white. But it was, privilege of being connected and having like status, like monetary status.
Yeah.
That can definitely, and that's pretty much how I learned like how the legal system really works. It's basically like money talks, and like you can pretty much do anything and get away with it. Like I'm pretty sure Jeffrey Epstein is like still alive somewhere.
Oh my God, he totally fucking is. He's like, I imagine him on like, what was it, a satellite in like Austin Powers where they had like the shark lasers?
Yes.
That's like, he's like in there with Dr. Evil. Like he's such a piece of shit.
100% maybe is Dr. Evil.
He totally is. God, that whole story makes me so upset.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. So it's like, that's like fuck Jeffrey Epstein, but like also like sort of like fuck us as children, like getting away with that,
Yeah.
Even though I didn't do anything wrong, like personally, it was like just I don't know, guilty by proxy.
But you're like, thank you for getting us out of that.
Right. And so we were all, it wasn't like a breakdown palace situation where they're like turn on each other, but they were like, admit to this and then like, we'll like sentence you. And so it was like very quick.
Oh God.
And we were all just sort of like, can we like call our parents?
Like, we didn't even fucking know what he was doing. Yeah.
And I was really lucky to not be 18, so, I was very grateful that ended the way that it did. But then we were still in Europe for 4 more months after that together. And
you guys were changed people after those 3 days.
I mean, we were hardened criminals at that point. We had to like finish out our trip and like, so we all had this like tight, like sort of family group.
Did you tell the other group what happened? Or were you guys like, we're taking this to our graves?
No, it was all of us together.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So it was all 7 of us that were stuck in the airport and detained. And so when we got out, we all kind of like split up and like 2 of us were like off, in a little clique, and then like 3 and then like the other,
Yeah, you're like, we aren't the same. We're different now.
Yeah. And so we just had like a much different experience the second half because now we were like adults. And so when I came back, my grandparents are like, you're not going to go to college. You're going to like stay home because they were like, you're going to go to community college and you're going to like live at home and like work. And and they're like, because you don't know how to be an adult.
Yeah, you need to get some thick skin, bitch. You need to grow up.
Well, and I was like, I'm 18 now. And I'm like, and I'm a hardened criminal.
I can do what I want, Grandma.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm going to go to this little hippie college and sell drugs. And
there you go.
So my grandparents cut me off, and I like funded my way through college by selling drugs.
Well, don't give away too much. Well, we need to have like leave people hanging so they can listen to your podcast.
Yeah, I mean I feel like I give it away.
You gotta go listen
in the title. That time I got arrested.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you got out of that little interrogation room. My God. And thank you so much for that. That was incredible. That was like the best story ever. John Walter Stockwell, you've been trumped. Come back and try to redeem yourself. Just kidding. That was awesome. Do you have any trips coming up?
Yeah, so I'm going to Paris on Sunday for an undetermined amount of time. I bought a one-way ticket. And
hell yeah.
The last time I was in Paris, my grandmother had given me this like list of places to go and things to do. I didn't go to a single place because I was really interested in getting drunk every day instead. So now I'm going by myself and I'm going to go to like every place on that list.
Oh my God, that's going to be
like
incredible.
This is my eat, pray, love.
This is your eat, pray, love. You can do it now.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, anything you want to plug?
So I don't do anything ever except go on Instagram 80,000 times a day. My handle is B Casper.
B-E.
Yeah.
I always want to say B-E-E.
Yeah.
But it's just B-E, like to be or not to be.
Correct.
And then Casper like the ghost.
Yeah.
Everyone follow her. She's very entertaining. I love it.
Thanks. And I have a podcast called That Time I Got Arrested. Everywhere you listen to podcasts.
It's a must listen. You have to. It's so good. I'm going to be a guest on it in the future.
Yes.
So yes, everybody tune into that and my pathetic run-ins with the police.
No, we can like just joke around and talk about dicks. It'll be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I love you.
Bye.